Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the third episode of the World History and Geography GCast as presented by Gibsonian Institute. Today we're looking at the Enlightenment influences on government. So we're going to look at some of the democratic ideas that finally get proposed, but also some of the ideas that are coming from despots or monarchs, kings and queens, and the like. So, of course, like with every lesson, let's get started with our objectives. Our first objective today will be to examine the details surrounding the enlightened monarchs and despotism. And then we'll follow that up with examining the Enlightenment democratic ideas that are going to be put forward. Before getting into the monarchs, we're going to first start with the ideas of unlimited versus limited government. In the 1600s and 1700s, most monarchs are going to rule through this idea known as divine right. I'll go into details as to what divine right is, but first you're going to see the stark contrast of divine right and rulers that rule through this method versus the way that we keep law and order in our very own Gibsonia. You'll see the stark contrast shortly. Now, divine right is the power to rule is bestowed upon the person that is the ruler by God. So that means they can make no errors, and everything that they go about doing is in a way passed on to them by God. So that was a way to make sure everyone didn't question the ruling authority. Divine right is going to lead to what is known as unlimited government, which is where one person or a group holds all power without restriction. So there's no checks or balances. There's no one to say, hey, you can't do that. What they say is the law, and that's the end of that. No if, and, or buts. This is going to be a stark contrast to the idea of limited government. In limited government is going to be checked by laws and institutions that represent the will of the people. So you can't just go about doing anything you want. You have to make sure that it's in the benefit of the people that live within that area. So you'll notice that a Gibsonia is very similar to a limited government. I don't go around enacting laws willy-nilly without first consulting the people, of course, right? All right, now moving on to the enlightened monarchs and despots. Monarchs and despots are synonymous, of course, both meaning there is a single ruler. There are going to be enlightenment ideas that are going to lead monarchs into changing their style. The idea behind this is that they're attempting to make life better for the commoners. If they think if the everyday person has a better life, it'll be easier for them to stay in power, which is a fairly good idea. You don't want all the commoners and all those low-lying plebes and all those serfs being all riled up and have some sort of revolt or uprising happening on your hands. So they're going to try to make life a little bit better for the commoners. However, they're going to still remain in absolute power. So no one's challenging their authority. They're just trying to be a little preemptive about things. Make sure before things get bad, they're going to try to keep life going well. Some examples of the enlightened monarchs, and we're going to look specifically at this tomorrow. We're going to have a gallery walk featuring these key figures, and we'll talk a lot about these people. The first one is to be George III of Britain. We have Louis XIV of France, who we're going to see fill this thought bubble to the right in a second. And then Frederick II of Prussia. There's more that we're going to look at tomorrow, such as Catherine the Great of Russia, but we'll get to that tomorrow in due time. A famous quote coming from Louis XIV. We'll give it in French, and then we'll go on and give it to you in English, but the French version is "L'État, c'est moi," which means I am the state, meaning there's nothing that you can get around. Louis XIV, he is the ruler, he is the king, he is the one that is going to set the laws, and that's the only thing you got to follow. You don't follow the laws on paper, you follow the word of Louis XIV. L'État, c'est moi. All right, so now we're going to move along to our democratic ideas. I've listed out the ideas tomorrow. Again, as I mentioned before with the monarchs, we're going to go into all these details as to who's saying what tomorrow. But today, I just want to introduce these ideas to you, and then we'll add faces to these ideas tomorrow. The idea of a constitution being a contract between the government and its citizens. And we've talked about this before with the Magna Carta. This is what's giving power to the state to govern the people. It is an agreement between the two sides, the government and its citizens, saying we agree that these are the rules that we're going to play our game by. And we, again, with the Magna Carta that we talked about, it's not the people who are in charge that are keeping law and order. It is the laws themselves that we follow. So we listen to what is written down in our Constitution, not to people like Louis XIV, who says that he is the state. The idea of natural rights. This is a radical idea here, but 1700s, no person is born with special privileges. That is an important one to remember today, but it was a radical idea when first coming out, especially if you consider the idea of divine right of rule. Majority rule, this is something that we definitely believe in the United States, as how our elections are structured with first past the post. And this is that the government decisions should reflect the need of most people. So the majority people should have their needs met, which is a fairly good idea. Now, of course, these ideas don't say that anyone that's not a majority should just be kicked out or just not cared for. It's just the idea that you should take care of the majority and make sure everyone else is being taken care of as well afterwards. And then the idea of popular sovereignty is that government should express the will of the people. It is they rule because of the people, and it should express the will of the people. So the power is given to the government by the people and should embody what the people need. So this is going to conclude our notes today. I do have a special quote to get to in a second, but a reminder that, of course, the notes are available in slide format on Classroom, or of course you can read along in Module 24, Lesson 2 of the textbook. And then, of course, there will be an exit slip to complete on Google Classroom, so make sure you head over and get that completed as well. Now, getting on to this. Here is a ravishing young man who came about with a fantastic quote, in my opinion, and it goes, "Man is born free, but he is everywhere in chains." Please comment below who says this quote. We'll figure out a special prize for you, and maybe whether it's in the form of Gib or a couple of or some other creative measure, but we'll make sure to get you a reward. So sound off in the comments below. Give me, who is the person who said man is born free, but he is everywhere in chains? Now, that concludes what we've got today. So look forward to seeing you again next time.